My name is Daniella, and you are listening to the Audacious Path podcast, the one and only podcast that is specifically aimed at adventure creators just like you and me. Every 2 weeks, I talk to other creators within the adventure sphere, and I ask them about how they started and grew their adventure creator business. In this episode, I am talking to Helga and Gerard from the YouTube channel Sailing Ripple Effect. Everywhere they go along their journey, they always try to give back to the community. In this episode, we specifically talked about what their experience was like taking a YouTube growth course. Now, you guys will know that one of my complaints in the YouTube world is that there's not a lot of courses out there that are specifically aimed at our sector. Adventurers, people who are traveling around and doing crazy lifestyles. And I wanted to know, was this course worth it? And what did they learn? Would they share it with us? You can find them on pretty much every platform, but mainly YouTube, at Sailing Ripple Effect. And I would absolutely love to hear what you think of this episode as you listen along. You can tag me or send me a DM at the Audacious Path and enjoy the episode. To start out with, can you guys introduce yourselves? Tell me a little bit about your background before you got into sailing and why you started sailing.
I was a physician in Washington, D.C., working for the military on traumatic brain injury, doing research, and had some run-ins with the military leadership and kind of got burnt out on the whole situation and decided to sail around the world.
So I've been sailing a bit around in Norway. I always wanted to sail. My uncle was a sailor, and I thought that was the coolest thing in the world. So when I finally got old enough to go sailing myself, I just had to jump on that and absolutely loved it. And then last year, I was going to cross the Pacific on a different boat, but that all fell through. And then Gerard just was a saving angel and let me and my friends come on his boat so we could cross the Pacific. And then I just never left, basically.
Both of your stories kind of resonate with me because I got super burnt out on my last job. I was working in humanitarian response, and it's similar, I think, pressure. I mean, if you work in the brain, I imagine that's a lot of pressure. The pressure of like working in the humanitarian response, seeing a bunch of things, I was like, oh, I just need to go sailing. I'm actually a complete newbie to sailing. I started 4 years ago, didn't have any background. So I love hearing other people's stories. Why did you guys start a YouTube channel? Who started it? I imagine it was you, Doc. Is that correct?
Correct. So, I had seen some other, had this plan to sail around the world, and I looked at some other sailing channels. A lot of them were couples or families, and they just kind of, went to these places and took pictures and took pretty drone shots and put it out there, and people obviously liked it. And I just wanted to do something more. I thought that we could give back to the communities because they go to these remote places and these people don't have much, and I have this skill of being a physician, so I thought we could actually give back to people and sort of either inspire others to do so. So I wanted to kind of put it out there.
And when did you join the channel, Mara?
So I joined last year. He was going to sail across the Pacific. That was not supposed to be a part of, it wasn't supposed to be a real season because it's just 3 weeks of sailing, and he was bringing with him unexperienced sailors, and he thought that would not be that much fun. So when we joined, we were just supposed to help transport the boat, basically. But that turned into a season as well. And when I left to go back home, I came home to Norway, and I was like, why am I not on the boat full time? I was living a 10 out of 10 life on the boat. I got home and it was like amazing. My life at home was amazing, but it was just missing this something that I had on the boat. So I just stayed in touch with Doc, and step by step, I just came back a little bit more. And now I'm just here all the time. Or I still go home, but for the YouTube show, I'm here all the time.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, no, I feel that as well. I lived on a boat for 6 months, had to stop living on a boat, and now I'm doing everything I can to get back to that place where I'm on a boat because, if you can live a 10 out of 10 life, why wouldn't you, right?
Yeah, I just wanted to add that when I went back home, I was just, I was trying to make all my income streams online. So I would be able to go back here and still make an income and be here sailing around.
Tell me a little bit about your journey before you guys decided to take the YouTube course. Obviously, you faced a lot of challenges. I've looked at you guys a couple of different times, and I've seen that you have 6 different seasons, and obviously you were looking for more growth. So what were the challenges you faced? What was that journey?
It's funny. I mean, my original plan was to hire a production company and have them on board for the first 2 weeks of season 1 and help sort of kick off the channel in a really high quality way, storytelling and visually, and then to bring the production sort of in-house with the people we have, like most boats do it. And the production company said, oh no, this is quite a concept. 4 strangers on the boat who don't know how to sail. You've got a TV show. And so they convinced me that that we should finish out the entire season and then try to sell it. So we did that. We went to some reality shows, and I don't know. I'm a physician. I have no idea about media and if it was a show or not. And not much happened. So we put it out there on YouTube, but we continued to use the production company. There was some interest from Discovery and some other people, and continued to try to move that along. But it never really happened. And by the end of season 3, I think we were like, well, maybe we should just concentrate on YouTube. But it wasn't going all that well. I think we had pretty good quality, but again, I didn't know. Not only do I know nothing about TV, I know nothing about YouTube. So I thought, if you have good stuff, people will come. And apparently that's not true. So I think the course helped set that straight.
Yeah, so when I came on board, I felt like the show had a little bit of an identity crisis. We didn't exactly know what we wanted to do, where we wanted to go. And for me, joining it, I wanted to have a product that I was so passionate about that I could work 24/7 on it, and it just wouldn't feel like work. It would give me energy.
And she does.
So when I came, the show wasn't that much focused on the giving back to the communities part. They wanted to do it, but it had just been hard to actually get it done. And we tried it a little bit in season 5 when I was just on and off a bit. And it felt so important. It really felt like we were doing something good. So after that experience, I was starting to create this show in my mind of what it could be. And the show we had at the time did not align with that properly. And also, what I noticed in the previous shows is that you didn't really get a connection with any of the people because it was always a new crew. And by the time you started to get to know them, they were out and it was new people coming in. It was only Doc that was there every single time, but he was like, leave the spotlight to the crew. They're the ones that, want to be on camera and want to grow their personal brands, et cetera, et cetera. So he was kind of stepping out a little bit, but that made the channel lack a main character, someone to connect to. So it was a lot of these small things that we noticed that could get better. And we were watching like a bunch of different YouTube shows, trying to pick up what was good, what hooks me in, why do I care? And we figured out a lot of different things, but it was so hard to figure out where to start. And in addition, we started to think about ripple effect and do this rebrand of the show, because previously it was called Sailing Cerebral and now it's called Ripple Effect, and we wanted to just change not everything about it. We wanted to change the concept of the show. We wanted to kind of build it up again from scratch, get everything right. And I was watching all of these YouTube videos about what we could do, how to do different things, and it was just confusing because I don't know YouTube either. I don't come from that background. I have a little bit of marketing background, but I'm a business owner. I do economics. I like Excel. Like, that's my thing. And I never done videography or production or YouTube. And suddenly I was the one that was going to film everything, and I was going to edit it, and I was going to promote it, and I was going to host a show, and I was going to be the captain. And it was like so many things happening at the same time that I just needed some help to structure things and figure out where to start, what can I do, and how am I supposed to do it.
It's so interesting because my journey has been so similar to yours, where it's like, where do you put your focus? And I'm curious, one of the things that I've experienced when I've gone through my YouTube journey is that there's not a lot of information out there that is aimed at what we're doing, right? Like, we're adventurers, we're sailors, we're van lifers, we're people who are going out and doing things. And a lot of the advice that I see that is aimed at growing a YouTube channel is like these people who are doing like education or how to grow a YouTube channel, or they're providing some kind of like educational experience, whereas like we're very much about like the entertainment, the adventure side of it. And I spent so much time filtering through advice that like I learned eventually just didn't apply, and it just wasted my time, to be honest.
Yeah, I feel yeah, it's I noticed the exact same thing. I was looking so hard to find something that was just specific for what we do, and I couldn't find it. There's so much missing, and I still haven't found anything about it. So when I heard that you were going to start a course, I'm like, yep, I'm going to follow you because I want to know what you know.
Well, I just finished module 1 this morning, and I'm so excited. So, okay, so tell me about the course that you took. Give me an overview of what it covers and what are like the main focuses and topics, and who's doing it.
All right, so I was looking at a bunch of different courses, and I ended up getting 2 different ones because they had like 30 days money back guarantee. So I'm going to go for both of them and see what suits me. One is called Video Creators, and it's a 30-day challenge to a better YouTube channel. And the other one is Sean Connell something, Video Ranking Academy. That's the one. At the time when I started this, like, everything was so overwhelming that the Sean Connell course was way too much. Like, they had so much information, and it's great information. I think it's a great course, but it was just too much, and the videos were too long, and I didn't have time for that. So the Video Creators course, which I ended up keeping, is a 30-day course, and every day it has one focus and on how to improve your channel. So it's from the design of the channel, like header image, the name, the bio, the trailer, like how to make a good channel trailer, how to structure your playlists, how to create an engaging community. It had different headlines with under chapter, and you had one video explaining what this part of the course was about. Then after that, you get links to different videos on YouTube and other websites where you can get more information about these things more specifically. And in the end, you get some tasks that you're going to do. So it was very simple and straightforward, but that was exactly what I needed to just start off as a complete newbie that had no idea about anything that was going on, basically.
How did you come across this specific course? Like, what were some of the things that you, like, obviously you were looking for something that was quick and easy. How did you, like, what was the research that you did in advance of this? And what were your expectations?
So I was basically just looking through YouTube for videos about anything. I was like searching for how to start a YouTube channel. And then they said, focus on thumbnails. And it's like, how to do good thumbnails. And I just kept clicking on the recommended videos that kept coming up. And I went through a bunch of different creators to see a bunch of different videos. And I figured out which ones I liked. I liked their style of presenting things. I liked how they made their videos. And that led me on to their podcast. And I also liked that a lot. So it was just basically from YouTube, I found a style I liked and how they were teaching things. And then I checked their course and figured out that they had this 30-day course that I felt like would be a good a good fit for me. For my expectations of the course, it was a little bit, I have no idea. Again, because I never been in this space. But also I was hoping that it would be simple, basic, and it was. So that was very, very good.
And just so for people to understand, like, what kind of investment is this, would you be able to share how much each of those courses cost?
I think the video creator one, so the 30-day one, was around $250. And the bigger one was around and the bigger one was around $1,000.
What are some things what's it missing? What are some gaps that you see?
So for sure, it's missing anything related to what I do. Things that are connected to vlogging in general as well. With the traveling, it's so many challenges we meet when we're traveling around because we have to edit on the go and then we don't have connection. And then I don't know how I can just get all of that done and also do all of this. So it'd be nice to get some just general tips on how to do that. Like, how many weeks ahead should you be with your content? How can you schedule it properly and still be engaging with your community?
One of the biggest things that I feel is missing from like the online community that I think we're both in, the YouTube sailing creator group, is there's not really like a swap of like, you know, helping each other. Like there's not, there kind of is, but like what I really crave is a community where we're constantly asking each other for collaborations, and we're constantly, you know, I review your video and you review my video. And it feels like all the courses I've taken, there hasn't really been that community aspect of it where like it's really highly encouraged and everyone's on the same professional level where they're willing to give as much as they're willing to take, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. It's funny because we were talking about that last night. We were like, oh, we have to mention that in the podcast, that we are missing that. And it would be so great to have someone to reach out to. That's also something that was in the Sean Connell course. Is a very active Facebook community, and people are helping you out very, like, a lot, and they are so supportive, and they ask for collaborations, and it's really good. That was one of the parts about that course that I really enjoyed.
What are some valuable lessons and strategies that you have already seen an impact on your channel that you learned in this course, the 30-day one?
All right, so I just remember the thing I forgot from the last question though, and that was another thing I was missing, and that is how to plan vlogs better, because they're always like, you know, plan ahead, make sure you know exactly what shots to get. You have to get the title and the thumbnail before you start, and sometimes that's really hard because I don't know what's going to happen that day. I don't know how to stick to the rules of how to create a good episode when everything just turns around and goes a different direction.
So I just interviewed Sailing Fair Isle, and they were BBC documentaries in Africa. And I was like, do you guys plan your episodes? And I just kind of assumed that it would be a yes because they had this like massive experience. And they're like, no, not at all. We don't even think about it. And I was like, well, everything that I've learned said that you should. And that's kind of like what I've been preaching and trying. One little tip I will give you that I picked up from them is, rather than thinking about it as an episode, think about it in terms of scenes. So what do I need to support this scene? Here's an example, right? Like if you see dolphins, whatever, and you're really, really excited and you get all the dolphin shots, once you get that like shot that's kind of like you could never have predicted it, then stop and think, what do I need to support this dolphin shot? Well, you'd want like the people's reactions. You'd want like everyone kind of like jumping up and down and being all happy. You'd want the person who's like, you know, still having to steer the boat and can't go look or whatever it is. But they are thinking ahead in terms of like the next scene, like it was really energetic. Okay, so the next one should probably be a calmer shot. What do I need to support that contrast of emotions, if that makes sense?
Yeah, that's a really good tip. I mean, we just had that happen a couple of days ago when it was dolphins, and all we have is just dolphin footage because everyone was so excited and just filmed the dolphins. So that's a very good tip.
You've just done a rebrand. What were the steps that the course kind of What led to that? What did you learn along the way? And are you seeing any impact yet?
Yes. So some of the main things that I took away from the course is how, like, find your target audience and make everything with the target audience in mind. I've worked on that for over a year since we crossed the Pacific. I was like, this should be our target audience. And we've been just like trying to nail that down, try to nail down our value proposition, really figure out who are we, what do we want to do, and the course has been very helpful with that. So one of the things we've seen in our analytics is that our audience has gone from men, like 50 plus. I think it was 60% were just men 60 plus, and we wanted to have a younger audience, and now we have 60% that are under 40. So that's been really cool to see that we actually got that shift. Yes, that's one of the things I'm just like, yeah, we're doing it. We're actually able to do what we're trying to do. And when I first met Gerard, he was like, yeah, but the channel is for everyone. And I was like, no, if it's for everyone, it's for no one. And
she said that a lot. Still does.
It's true. It's true. Unfortunately, I mean, especially in the beginning stages, that changes as your channel evolves. But in the beginning, it's so important. That's all the research I've done in business and video and everything is all pointed to the beginning is the most important part to like really have a niche.
So I think that's definitely the most valuable thing that I worked with, and also that we've seen such great results from it, because the analytics is pointing towards that we're actually getting the people we want now.
So are you growing as fast as you wanted to with what you've learned from the course so far? Or is there areas where you're still like, oh, come on, like...
I mean, of course, we want to grow faster and we want to just get there faster. But we also realized that, or we learned that, it's not a quick process. It's so many things that needs to fall in place. And we see improvement every single time. So one of the things they've been talking about as well is just get 1% better every episode. So we find a metric that we've been focusing on and just like, okay, let's get this better. Like our CTR is something that we have been focusing on.
That means click-through rate. You're welcome.
So we've gone from like 3.5, 4, and now the latest episode was at 7.2. And we like between here, it's been like every time a little bit better, a little bit better. It's cool to see we're growing. Of course, we just want to do it faster, but at least now we know that the things we are doing is what causes the change. So we're doing the right things. It's not a random thing that happened that makes us blow up and we had no idea how we actually did it.
If you're enjoying this episode, then I also recommend that you sign up for my newsletter, where every 2 weeks I share research-backed and tested advice on how to start, grow, and monetize your adventure creator business. The newsletters include information on how to start your channel, how to build a brand, how to storytell, how to edit, and build an income, and much, much more. And I hope that you will join the growing list of other creators that are making their adventurous lifestyle sustainable. So did the course, or does it talk about anything related to building a community or like a stronger connection with your audience overall?
It does talk about it a little bit, but it doesn't go very in depth on that topic. I mean, the course in general doesn't go super in depth on the different topics. It gives you like a little overall introduction to it and gives you some steps that you can implement. Now would be very good to have more tools to build an engaged community, because that's something we really want to focus on. Because if we got an engaged community, we don't need that many followers to actually be able to make a profit. It talks about doing lives, but also with lives, I feel like we're too small to do lives, but I don't know.
Definitely not too small. I'm just gonna throw it out there. You should absolutely do lives. One of the best ways to get watch time and viewership and also engage with your audience at the same time. So what I typically do or did is have all the things that I'm going to update them on and just kind of like tell them about my life, be very personal and authentic. And then at the end, I would do comments and I would tell them all of that so that they know, like, you know, I don't have to watch the end if I don't want to engage with her. It's natural to feel a little uncomfortable the first time though. So yeah, highly recommend it. So, okay. Did the course offer any advice on how to improve the quality of your content? I know you guys from the very beginning, I've seen that you just have really, really high quality cinematography, and that's super impressive. But I'm curious what it touched on in that sense.
So it's been talking about storytelling, but not actually filming and what's like if you need any angles or if you need what shots to get or b-roll or how to film or what cameras to use. It doesn't talk about that. That's why I got a separate course for filming and videography.
Tell me a little bit about the storytelling, though, because I've seen your storytelling just massively improve over the year that I've been watching you guys, and I want to hear a little more about, like, what did it tell you about storytelling? What were some of the things that you learned?
Well, first of all, thank you. We've been working on it. And also, a lot of it is actually because we got some great tips from you. That, like, every time you commented, we had like a board meeting, I felt like, and we're like, so she said this and this and this, and like, how can we implement it? So I feel like actually your tips were more valuable than what we got from the course. So it tells you about what you should include, that you need to have tell people really quickly, what's your goal? What are the challenges to reach that goal? What are at stake, and who's the main character? So it's very basic, but also in theory, it is basic. Like, that's what you need to say. That's what you need to include. But yeah, I don't think that course it's not a storytelling course. But also what we notice is that part just needs practice. And you just have to keep that in mind at all times. Like, what's the story, and stick to that story. Like, you have to open your loops of something that is happening. So, okay, we're going to sail from here to here, and then something breaks. But then we have to remember to close that loop again, to resolve that issue, so people are not wondering, yeah, but what happened to that thing that broke? Because that's what we were interested in. And as we close that loop, open another loop to keep people interested, and then keep having these small loops all through the story. And then you have kind of the overarching one that is the entire story. And then maybe open one at the end that leads into the next episode.
And I've always thought that was key. And I thought that was actually a problem with our old channel is, you know, these videographers that we had on board were, they were professionals, but they did commercials and sort of corporate stuff. And I don't think they told the story the way I experienced it on the boat. And so they left a lot of stuff out and said, well, it just doesn't fit. And I was like, well, but it's part of the story, and it builds character. It builds all the things you want. But again, I don't know, and they're the professionals. So it's nice to know that someone comes on board and says, yeah, we need to do better storytelling. And I'm like, yes, we do.
So many comments standing out in my mind. First one is that loop idea, like, that resonated with me, and now my brain's already going through, ooh, like, yeah, that's right. Like, I like that. But the second point is that, you know, it is hard when you're learning from all these like different professionals and you don't know what you're doing in the YouTube space. Like, who the hell do you listen to? How do you guys decide, like, and this is, I'm wondering if the course touched on this, and I'm going to guess no, but how to find a balance between showing your experience versus providing information that's valuable, or like balancing that value add, because that's something that I have been learning a lot about lately. And well, I have a theory, but I want to hear what you guys think first.
We're not an educational channel, but we want to show people that are interested in this lifestyle what it is like living on the boat. So we try to balance both, like showing some cool stuff that we're doing with us giving back, because that's a big thing of what we do now, and to show them that we are not anyone special that makes us able to do this. We're just normal people and we can do this, and you can do this as well. And then we also try to put in there like just daily life on the boat. So one of the episodes that are coming up in 1 week, that's just like one day in our life, totally unplanned, just to try to give the viewer a little picture of what it's actually like living on the boat, and things that might happen during the day that we have no idea about and that we can't plan. But yeah, we're still experimenting with this balance of what we're gonna include and what we're gonna leave out, and how, because we don't just go on adventures all the time, and that's amazing, but that's the fun stuff that we want to show, because this was so amazing and other people will think it's amazing as well. But there's so many other parts of what it's like living on a boat, sailing around, that we also want to include, because for the people that has no idea what this is but could be interested in this lifestyle, that's, at least that's what I think that they want to know, because that's what I would want to know. So when I didn't do this, that's what I was looking at in the channels I was watching.
Did the chorus touch on anything regarding I don't know if you guys have heard the concept murder your darlings, and it's the idea that you get emotionally attached to parts of your film because it was emotionally valuable for you, and like it was like this big moment, but it might not necessarily help the story, and it might not provide any value. Did it talk about that at all?
We have another guy in our team called John. He's not here. He is in the US. And I send him the first draft of the videos, and then he goes through it and sends us a second draft, and he can pick those things out, which is very good, because we're here. We have no judgment towards those things, because we're like, that was awesome. We're awesome. This is really cool. So it's really, really valuable to have just him going through it and seeing it as a person that sees it for the first time, and to be able to just filter out those things.
Definitely. And that's one of the things that I've started doing in the last couple episodes, is making sure, like, I'm a solo person. I'm doing all of this alone, but I'm building in feedback loops, because it's really hard when you're the only person making judgments about things like that. So that's cool that you guys do that. That's awesome. Did the course touch on anything related to monetizing your channel, whether it's, monetizing your actual channel, or sponsorships or affiliate marketing, patrons, stuff like that? Did it touch on anything like that?
Yes, you mentioned it briefly. As a entertainment channel, I feel like you need a lot more subscribers to be able to monetize from things, because you don't have that many income streams like you have Patreon and the ads. It's hard, because all of those things means that you need more subscribers, and we're not there yet. How can we start as a small channel? And not just have to wait until we're super big?
I would just say, based on my research, because that's probably the area that I've researched the most, is how to monetize a channel. Try to start with a service mindset. So think about how you can serve your audience, and always think about giving way more than you can take. And it almost will happen organically. Like this course that I'm creating, the way it started is I actually started just like providing feedback in other people's videos constantly, like all the time, like 2 years ago. And then I would, like, in this random document, like record all the things that like I couldn't find advice on. And someone was like, oh, you should make a course. And I was like, they suggested it to me. But before that even happened, I was serving people, and I was constantly trying to help other people. And the research that I've shown, the books that I'm reading, the business books that I'm reading, they all say the same thing: come from a service mindset, and something will come to you. You'll figure out the value that you can add to people.
That's good insight. And I noticed that you've been doing this, and like with all the feedback you've been giving us so selflessly, and just like helping us out without asking anything in return. It's been so great. And I was like, well, when she gets the course, I'm going to buy it. And it's all like an investment in the future.
Do the exact same thing. There's got to be some way where you can help people, and it might not be clear right now, but just find out like where are you guys giving advice to people? Like, where are you helping people? And it might be something completely random and you're like, what? Like, where did this come from? Like, I never thought I'd build a YouTube course. So what about strategies for collaborations? Did it touch on anything related to like working with other people?
No, I didn't talk about that. It mentioned that collaborations are great, but that's it. It was not a part of the course. It was like an extra thing at the end. Try to get collaborations because it can help you grow. It can help you learn new things, but nothing more than that.
Did the course address anything around consistency versus quality? I know that's an interesting one, but that's always an argument that I hear within the like beginning YouTube space is like, do I produce content every week or bi-weekly, or do I produce high quality content?
What their focus was just do it. Get out there, start posting. Don't worry too much about the quality because a lot of people wait until they got it perfect until they post anything, but you're not going to get it perfect. So their focus was just start, post something, and then you will learn in the process because that's how you get better. And then when you have gotten like the basic in place, then you should start focus on getting the content better and better. But that, yeah, you just have to jump into it. But it didn't necessarily mention anything about what's better if you're going to post a lot every week or just have one thing a month that is super high quality. Because it said that anything could work as long as you give value to the viewer, and if you're able to do the other things that hook the viewer and you give them value, you have a story, then it's good. And it doesn't need to be super high quality on the videography. You don't have to have the best camera. You can use your phone. That's completely fine. But that if you just focus on getting a little bit better every time, you will get to a point where you can have high quality and you can post as much as you want. But it's not, you have channels that post every day. You have channels that post once a month, and both can work. You just have to find what works for you, your lifestyle, your audience. Basically, that's what they said.
And did it have any tips for like how to improve over time? I mean, it sounds like it already didn't go as in depth as you wanted it to go, but did it point you in a direction of like, okay, now that you've gotten to this like base level over here and you want to go deeper, did it say like where to go?
And it said focus on one thing and then try to improve that one thing.
Yes,
to a level you want it. And then it said, well, if you really want to improve your videography skills, like take a course in that and work on that. Don't try to do everything at the same time. Just really focus. And then, okay, now you're going to improve your titles and thumbnails. Then just really dive into that. And it gave you some resources for where you could find more information about it. And they also have bigger courses, and they have these mentors, and they have these like conversations you can have with them where they go through your channel and help you out. So they of course like let you know about other options within their company that they can help you with. But that's what I like about them. Like they don't oversell their services. It's not like you have to buy something more after this course. They give you free options and they give you paid options, and I think that's very nice.
Awesome. And looking back, was it worth it? Was the course worth it? Would you recommend it to other people, or what would you change if you were to take a course again?
Yeah, I would absolutely recommend it. I thought it was great. It was exactly what I needed. It gave me so much value, and it improved our channel. It helped me catch up with John, that has been in the YouTube space for a long time, that's been editing the draft of our video. Like he was talking about things and I had no idea what it was. Like I had no idea what a thumbnail was. I was like, it's probably some like a hashtag, I don't know. And just to like go in and learn all of these basic things for me was super valuable. And it like now I feel so much more confident in everything YouTube. And also I shared the course with John, and also he gets value from it, and we've been going through it together. So when we talk about titles and thumbnails, we kind of have the same mindset. We know what we're looking for, what we're trying to do. So definitely help, definitely recommend it. But of course, I wish it was more related to exactly what we do. That is more vlogging, preferably travel, adventure, sailing, but just even vlogging would be great.
Yeah. And what are you going to learn next? What's the next focus?
So the next focus is storytelling. Like that's what we need to nail down, because even if our CTR is going up, we're getting the audience we want, our retention is still not great. So we need to get that up, and that's what we're going to work on now.
Yeah, definitely. What's my focus right now as well. I think you guys will be interested in my newsletter I just released this morning. Been reading In the Blink of an Eye by Walter Murch. He is the editor for The Godfather. I mentioned him in like so many podcasts, so people are probably sick and tired of hearing about him. But a really impactful book. And he talked about how 51% of your story and your edit should be emotion. You actually aren't taking them through a story necessarily, but you're taking them through an emotion. And a lot of people get like stuck on like the words that they're going to say that are going to like keep the story progressing. But actually, like what you should be focusing on is the emotional experience of that moment. So like going back to the dolphin example that we had before, what could you do to enhance the excitement that people are feeling in this moment? And then think about the shots that would capture that versus thinking about the story of the dolphins. And you should think about the story as well, but the emotion should come first. And when I saw that, I was like, oh my God, it's all coming together, because you guys probably listened to the episode with Holly from Wind Hippie. And she even said that. She was like, I don't really like think so much about the story. I'm thinking about the emotion of that moment. And like, do I feel what I felt when I was there? And it's like, it's all clicking.
Yeah, that's really good. I'll keep that in mind for sure.
And what piece of advice would you have for another beginner that's considering taking a course or not taking a course? What would be your advice for them?
I mean, I would definitely recommend that you would take a course, because even if all the information you need is out there somewhere and it's for free, it's just good to have some structure behind it. To someone that tells you, start with this, do this, and then you can do this. It's not like it's anything revolutionary inside the course. It's all known information. It's all easy accessible, but it's just too overwhelming to go in and meet this entire world. And you're supposed to know all of this at the same time. It's a lot. So definitely do a course for sure. I would do it over and over again, and I keep getting new courses about absolutely everything.
If you're an entrepreneur, constant learning has to be part of what you're doing. I mean, people, I think I saw and heard people say that, like, you know, it's not, is YouTube a business? People would even ask that question. And it's like, well, it's hard to think of it as a business because to some of us, it feels like it detracts. But if you're not thinking about that way, you're not thinking about yourself as someone who's building something, then you don't understand like what goes into it. And it's not realistic expectations, because the realistic expectation is that you will be constantly learning and trying to improve on this. And for me, that's part of the fun.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree. And that's also something I got from the course, actually, because coming into this, my mindset as well was a bit like, you know, YouTube, is that really, is that a real job? I come from this, you know, I have my degree, I've started companies. I'm like, that's what it's very traditional in that way. And I'm like, you know, influencers is not a real job. But then as I got immersed in it, it was like, whoa, this is amazing. And it is a job. And if I can make this my job, I can do what I want. Like, I can live out my passion and make it my job. It's genius. All of the influencers out there, they're like friggin' genius.
And it's definitely that's changing that mindset for me has also made me have more respect for influencer as like what they are. I think that like an influencer has definitely gone up in my head when you think about like how much goes into it. So, all right, how can people find you? On what platforms, and what's your handle?
So it's Sailing Ripple Effect absolutely everywhere, on YouTube, on Instagram, on Twitter now, TikTok.
X,
that's the name. And we are getting a new web page this week, which is also sailingrippleeffect.com.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode. If you found any value in this at all, you could help me grow by sharing this podcast with someone else in the adventure space, or leave me a 5-star review on Apple or on Spotify podcasts, or whatever your podcast listening device is. It really does help me grow, and this is not free to produce, and I make no money off it at this point. So thank you so much, and I will see you in 2 weeks.